All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and our continuation of our BCBA mock exam series with series number 7. As always, we're going to go through the next set of questions together and break them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. As always, when you pass, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Ernie wants to lose weight for the holidays, so he starts a diet that requires him to fast for 20 hours a day and only eat during the other 4 hours. His 4 hour window always starts at exactly 12 p.m. At that point, Ernie is free to eat whatever he likes. Relative to eating, the 12 p.m. likely functions as a what? The question is asking about 12 p.m. relative to eating. And it's important we know it's relative to eating because it's identifying whether 12 p.m. is an antecedent or a consequence. So, what else do we know right now about 12 p.m.? We know Ernie wants to lose weight for the holidays, so he's fasting for 20 hours and only eating the other 4, meaning he's depriving himself of food for 20 hours and only eating during 4 hours of the day. That 4 hour window starts at 12 p.m., meaning 12 p.m. is an antecedent relative to eating. So we can rule out consequence. 12 p.m. is not functioning as a consequence here. What is 12 p.m. doing specifically? Is it a motivating operation? Is it increasing the value of eating? Is it a discriminative stimulus? Is it signaling that eating is now available? Or is it a prompt? Is it coming after the SD? Well, in this case, we have a pretty clear MO, and that's going to be the fasting. Fasting is a pretty obvious type of deprivation. Ernie's depriving himself of food. 12 p.m. is not increasing the value of eating. Eating is already high in value because of the fasting. So A, motivating operation, that is going to be our fasting. B, discriminative stimulus is more what we're looking for because Ernie, when it gets to 12 p.m., now knows eating is available. So 12 p.m. is a stimulus that is signaling to Ernie he is now okay to eat. Why is it not prompt? Well, because a prompt comes after the SD, and there are no clear prompts in this particular scenario. So our answer here, relative to eating, 12 p.m. is likely functioning as B, a discriminative stimulus. Donna is chasing Macy around the house when Macy says, "Timeout, I'm getting tired." Donna says, "No timeouts, tag, you're it." Donna then tags Macy and starts to run away. What describes Donna's verbal behavior? Now, for verbal behavior questions, they should be pretty straightforward. We're asking ourselves, what evoked the verbal behavior? Are we worried about point-to-point correspondence and formal similarity? And then what reinforced it? Now, in this case, they're asking specifically about Donna's verbal behavior. And so in verbal behavior questions, you want to be very, very sure you know what speaker or who you're looking at, whose behavior we're focused on. In this case, Donna is our speaker. So Donna is chasing Macy around the house. Macy says, "Timeout, I'm getting tired." What is Macy's behavior? Well, Macy's behavior is a command. Macy is requesting a timeout due to a motivating operation. But we're not looking at Macy's verbal behavior. We're looking at Donna. So in response, Donna says, "No timeouts, tag, you're it." So Donna's behavior was evoked by Macy saying, "Timeout, I'm getting tired." So Donna's verbal behavior was evoked by a verbal SD. It does not have point-to-point correspondence, but it has formal similarity. So what operant has those characteristics? A, attacked. Did Donna label anything? Was Donna's verbal behavior evoked by a nonverbal stimulus? It was not. So we do not have attacked. What about a textual? Is Donna reading anything? She's not, so we don't have a textual. What about a mand? Is Donna requesting something due to an MO? She's not. What evoked Donna's verbal behavior is D, an interverbal. If you know what evokes your verbal operants, point to point and formal similarity, and then what reinforces your verbal operants, verbal behavior questions are going to be very straightforward. The hardest part is making sure you're looking at the right speaker and the right listener. You, a behavior analyst, are just finished an assessment and are developing an extinction intervention. Client's behavior of interest occurs when they attempt to stick Lego pieces in their mouth. Client has never swallowed a piece before, but there is a possibility that they swallow a piece in the future. What will be the first step in your intervention if the behavior happens for attention? Now, let's be very careful on this question. It's a good question to test. Are you going too quickly? Let's think about this. We're looking for the first step in our intervention. The behavior happens for attention. So we have a function, it's attention. We're looking for the first step. What do we know so far about the behavior? Well, the behavior is when they stick Lego pieces in their mouth. You want to put it on extinction. And the client's never swallowed a piece before. But there is a possibility that they swallow a piece in the future. Now, as soon as you read that they may swallow that piece in the future, what does that immediately tell you? Well, that there's potential harm or potential danger with this behavior. And what's the number one rule in behavior analysis? Do no harm. We prevent harm at any time and any way possible for our clients. So, regardless of what your idea of the perfect intervention is, regardless of what you're trying to accomplish, the first thing we need to do is what? Well, we need to keep the client safe because even though they've never swallowed a piece before, they might swallow one in the future. We cannot let that happen, especially under our watch. So, what is our first step here? A, ignore the client when they attempt to put a Lego in their mouth. Now, if you read very quickly and you said, well, I'm putting on extinction, it's for attention, this seems like a good idea. Why is this not a good idea? Well, because the idea or the fact that they could swallow the piece in the future. If you're ignoring this client when they're putting a Lego in their mouth, there's a good chance that you're ignoring them when they're doing something dangerous. So A is not at all our first step. B, remove all Legos from the house. Now, we do want to use an extinction intervention. And what is one rule about extinction? With extinction, you have to give the client the ability to engage in the response. If we remove all Legos from the house, yes, we're keeping the client safe. Is it the best way to change the behavior? Well, no. If they can't engage in the behavior, we can't put on an extinction. We can't change it. What happens when they leave the house and they go to school and there's Legos? They go to a friend's house and there's Legos. That's a problem. So B is keeping the client safe, but is there a better option where we can actually work on the behavior and also keep the client safe? Let's keep reading. C, teach the client to say, I want Legos, please, when they want to play with Legos. C could be a good option once they safely play with Legos. It's a good functional communication skill. But all you're doing right now in the current situation is giving them a better way of getting access to Legos, which they can then put in their mouth. So that leaves us with D. Block any attempt the client makes to put Legos in their mouth. D is better than B because we're still giving them a chance to engage in the response, but we're still keeping them safe. Now, we're going to have to figure out a way to put this behavior on extinction or change this behavior, but we're also able to do that because they can actually engage in the behavior. B is very temporary. We're going to have to figure something out eventually what allows them access to Legos in order to change that behavior through extinction. At least with D, even though response blocking doesn't necessarily qualify as extinction, at least they still have an opportunity to engage in the response. So nothing here is perfect because when we're dealing with safety, it's rarely going to be perfect. But D gives us the best opportunity to one, keep our clients safe, but also two, actually develop a useful intervention. So D is our best answer. Yuri wants to help you, the supervising behavior analyst, create a task analysis for a client. Task analysis for washing a car so that the client can get a job this summer. What will be the least desirable way for Yuri to conduct this task analysis? All right, task analysis question, and there's specific ways, strategies you should use to conduct task analyses. These typically involve watching an expert do the chain or the behavior, watching somebody competent, or observing yourself. What we want to avoid is watching people of similar ages or developmental levels with our clients. Is that to say they can't do the task? No, but you have to think about our populations we work with, and their peers aren't always going to be proficient in what we're trying to teach. So, watching others of similar ages and developmental levels isn't necessarily the best way to tackle a task analysis. Now, in this case, Yuri wants to help you create a task analysis for the client, and it's washing a car. What should you tell Yuri? What is the last thing Yuri should be doing when trying to conduct this task analysis? What would you tell Yuri? A. Yuri washes the car himself and writes down his steps. Well, this seems okay. Assuming Yuri can wash a car, it's totally fine for you to observe your own steps in your task analysis and then modify from there. A is okay. B. Yuri observes someone competent washing a car and writes down their steps. Absolutely. Totally fine to watch someone competent at the skill and then write down their steps. C. Yuri observes an employee of the car wash washing a car and writes down their steps. Sure. Somebody who is in the business, somebody who is part of the job of washing the car that the client wants to get seems like a pretty good option. What about D? Yuri observes someone the same age as the client washing the car and writes down those steps. We don't know the client's age, we don't know their skill level. So D is going to be the worst answer because it's going to produce the most likely answer to produce a poor task analysis. The other three are much more likely to produce a beneficial task analysis, or at least a task analysis you can work with in the future. D is much more likely to produce something that is unmanageable or something that you can't work with, causing you to waste time and resources. Lucy always teases Charlie Brown, but recently has gotten out of control. Lucy just teases Charlie Brown for his attention, so Lucy's teacher wants to teach Lucy a replacement behavior that will also get Charlie's attention. What strategy should Lucy's teacher not use? All right, we have a question using the word not, and that's immediately what we need to key in on. When we have that word not, it typically means the other three options are usable. In this case, we're looking for a strategy Lucy's teacher should not use to do what? Well, Lucy is teasing Charlie Brown. Lucy teases Charlie Brown, get attention. And so Lucy's teacher wants to use a strategy to teach a replacement behavior. Now, when we're dealing with differential reinforcement, which our options are all differential reinforcement, we have some differential reinforcement procedures that teach replacements and some that don't. So what are our two differential reinforcement behavior or strategies that teach replacement behaviors? Well, the first is DRA, differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors. If Lucy's teacher wants to teach a replacement behavior, a DRA would be perfectly acceptable. What about DRI? Does a differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors strategy teach replacement behaviors? Yes, it does. So Lucy's teacher would be totally fine using a DRI because both A, DRA, and B, DRI teach replacements. What about C? Does a differential reinforcement of other behaviors procedure teach replacements? It does not. And so this is where we would stop and say, well, DROs, DRHs, DRDs, and DRLs don't teach replacements. And so if Lucy's teacher wants to teach a replacement behavior, she needs to use either the DRA or the DRI. The DRO is not going to get her what she wants. And then 12, what is another way to describe a prompt fading procedure? When we talk about prompt fading, what's a technical way to talk about prompt fading? Well, what you're doing is you're taking a temporary SD, because a prompt is just a temporary SD, and you're transferring control from that prompt to the real SD. So when you use a verbal prompt or a modeling prompt or a physical prompt, those are all temporary SDs that are controlling the behavior. You don't want the prompt controlling the behavior. You want your actual SD controlling the behavior. So how are you going to do that? What's another way to describe what you're doing? A, consequence interventions. Well, prompts are not consequences. It's not a consequence intervention. Prompt fading is not a consequence intervention. A is out. B, the Premack principle. Does the Premack principle have anything to do with our prompts? Does not. Premack principle says that you use the opportunity to engage in a highly preferred response or activity as reinforcement for engaging in a low probability response or activity. Premack principle, unrelated. What about stimulus transfer control? Yes, all you're doing with prompt fading is transferring stimulus control. Stimulus control is transferred from the prompt to the actual SD. And then least to most prompting, well, If you're least to most prompting, what are you doing? You're going from no prompt to more intrusive prompts, the opposite of prompt fading. Most to least prompting could be some sort of prompt fading procedure, depending on how you're doing it. Least to most prompting is not. So, what's another way to describe prompt fading procedures? It's going to be C, stimulus transfer control. Thank you for watching. As always, check out behavioranalyststudy.com. That link is in the comments below. Let us know when you pass so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Subscribe for all of our updates and videos. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.